There you are, my lovely.
Yay, I managed to work it out
You
at
do.
last.
So what did you do? You're going to have to tell me. Did you just see me live and press on it?
No, so I
No.
went live, and then in the bottom left-hand corner is a little kind of linky symbol.
Yeah.
Um, and then I clicked on that, and it brought you up at the
Brilliant.
top.
Okay, that's
So
all we needed to know. So I'm just going to introduce you for the benefit of my YouTube channel. We have the amazing Stella Berry, who is the author of Cozy Mystery Books, and we are going to chat all things bookish and journeys and cozy mysteries. Hooray! There we go. How are you? Are you having a unseasonably warm day today as well, where you are?
do you know
No.
what? It was actually quite misty and foggy this morning.
Mm,
Look at us, we're so British talking
I
about the weather.
know. I know.
But yes, it's cleared up now and is looking quite sunny outside.
Yeah, this time of year is hard here. You've got to layer because in the morning it's heating, and then in the afternoon you need air conditioning, and it's all a bit crazy. And I have my new crown on. I purchased.
That is gorgeous. Yay, you for
I
getting
really
it.
like the butterflies actually. Yeah, quite pretty. I got about three because I couldn't decide, and I still got more in my Amazon basket for later because. And then I did a TikTok about it, but it tanked, so I'm going to have to do something again at some point. But anyway, on to you. Tell me about your books. How many books do you have published at the moment?
I have actually, I must be getting near 30 now. I think it's 27,
Wow,
but
that's
that's under my
incredible.
pen name.
Yeah.
So,
So, with your other pen name, then, what genre is that one about?
um, it's mainly young adult romance.
Okay.
So I started off with quite sweet, it's boarding school romance.
Oh, I love it.
Um, and that did really, really well. So straight out the gate, I kind of had success that I've never really managed to replicate again.
Brilliant.
Um, so there were 8 books in that series.
Okay.
Um, and then just because I love it, I kind of flipped into slightly more paranormal
Mm,
romance.
mm.
So I started off by still going quite young adult.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Oh, I love that
can,
cover. Look how gorgeous
but
that is. Wow.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, and there's 4 in that series, but then I
Okay.
tried a slightly more grown-up paranormal romance,
Ah,
and that didn't do massively
me
well.
too. So, do you think like the new adult age? It's tricky, isn't it? I think it's tricky.
Yeah,
Mm.
it the only thing that I really did differently, I mean, it's still quite aimed young. I think
Yeah.
some of the reviews have said that, but the only thing I did differently is I added a sex scene into each
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
that the relationship goes further because the
Yeah.
characters are older. Whereas in
Absolutely.
the early book, they're all like
Yeah.
16, 17. So it's got just nothing but like that final kiss.
You see, I mean,
Um,
I write young adult and I do slip in the odd sex scene in my 16, 17. I do, because I don't know, I always like to have a bit of a romance element, even though it's never like the main plot. Yeah, not all of them, but some of them do. And where appropriate, I think it just, but yeah, you can't go like full on detailed with that. You just gotta,
well,
yeah.
I actually started off with this first book a
Yeah.
little bit racier than it
Mm.
ended up. But what I quickly discovered is that the American moms
Yeah. Mm-mm.
really don't like it.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
And as the main readership seemed to be kind of 12 to
Yeah.
14, even the characters. So I
Yeah.
was getting all these like really assertive reviews on
Mm.
Amazon for those YA books, basically just saying so inappropriate.
Yeah.
And it was flirting. It wasn't even sex scenes, but it was suggestive flirting.
There's
Um,
nothing wrong with a bit of suggestive flirting. And I always
None
think,
of the British audience minded
well,
it at all.
yeah, no, I mean, I'm actually American, but I grew up in the UK. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. I did have some time out there as well. And I just think, where do you learn apart from books, about flirting and about these kinds of things? I think it's a really gentle way to introduce younger readers into what might be a typical or an unacceptable even situation and how to handle it. So I think it's quite educational in a way. But yeah. I
Yeah.
get that. I get
Well,
that.
I have to say, I stripped a lot of that out and made it
Yeah.
cleaner for the American audience.
Yeah.
Although, weirdly, the books are massive in India. I don't know
That's so
why.
funny. So
No, just
how do you
in
think it
India.
got picked up there then? Do you have a publisher or is it all self-published?
It's all indie.
Yeah.
I that first series went big not on Amazon but on Google Play, and I
Right.
imagine the Indian audience maybe all read on their phones more. Like they all
Yeah.
have phones, but do they all have computers and
Okay.
Kindles? So, yeah,
Wow.
it went in India. I think that is, yeah, mainly down to Google Play.
I don't
But
even know what
since
Google
then,
Play is. What is Google Play?
so there is a Play bookstore in
Right.
the yeah, in the like you have like Apple iBooks and
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble, Kobo, and all that. There is
Yeah.
also Google Play.
I did
I
not know
think
that.
Draft Digital distribute there, but it's
Ah,
actually better to go direct if you can be bothered with setting all that up.
yeah.
Um, so I went direct, and the reason is because they heavily discount quite often,
Mm.
which if you go through Draft to Digital, then really messes you up elsewhere. But if you go direct, you
Mm.
can just set a higher price accordingly. So
Right.
they still discount it, and you still get paid for the
Right.
higher price.
That's
So
fantastic.
I'm selling
Yeah.
my book, like ebooks there
Yeah.
at 3 times the price of Amazon, so
Gosh.
that they don't get price matched down.
Right.
Then Google bring them down, and I still get paid the full amount.
Wow, that's incredible. You've cracked a system there, haven't you? That's great. Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
I recommend using
Yeah.
it if
Yeah.
you're wide.
I might look into it. I haven't been wide so far. I'm thinking about doing it with my latest book. Uh, I don't really know what I'm biting off, but I might give it a go. I don't know. We'll see. And then I might just throw my hands in the air and go, no, I can't do it. It's all a learning curve, isn't it? So yeah,
It is. Well, I've actually gone the other way around. So I used to
yeah.
have everything wide, and I've pulled it all into KU. So
Even though
it's
your Indian market loves you, well, they can still
yeah,
access it, can't they? So
through Amazon.
yeah,
Sorry, India.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So is your cozy mystery series your most recent books then?
Yes. So
Mm.
basically, I was doing young adult, and the young adult market, it's not brilliant
Mm.
for ebooks in particular, because most of them do still read paperbacks, and
Mm.
also a huge number of them are the Wattpad readers, so they can read for free.
Yeah.
So they don't have the income to be spending on,
Books.
ebooks and
Yeah.
buying
Yeah.
paperbacks.
Yeah.
So I decided that as a market, I would never really do brilliantly financially there,
Yeah. Yeah.
even though I love writing them.
Yeah.
And so I switched over to Cozy Mysteries because the readers of Cozy Mystery are a completely different
Yeah.
demographic. They're older
Mm.
women in 30s, 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
So they have plenty of disposable income,
Yeah.
and they are whale readers as well. So they will read vast quantities
Yeah.
books, especially through Kindle Unlimited. They'll just race through, 20
All
books a
sorts of
week. So
things. Yeah. I wish I could read that much.
do.
Yeah.
Because you're writing
Wow.
them.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a genre switch, isn't it? I mean, my heart's in YA as well. And I actually know that my readership is, I mean, it is teens, but it's also people all went into their 40s. So I can only hope that that maintains. But as you say, it's not brilliant. So why cozy mystery? How did you have the idea to go into that genre? Did you just think actually that's a really good genre to go into? I'm going to write there, or did you actually have the idea first?
Well, I've always been a fan of reading it, so I'm
Okay.
very familiar with it. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I was reading the Christie books age kind of
yeah.
10, and obviously all the Nancy Drew books and
I
all
love
that type
Nancy
of
Drew.
stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, so I've always loved mysteries and murder mysteries. And the reason I picked cozies is just because in the US market, which is the biggest market in the world,
Yeah,
um, they are smashing it,
yeah.
really. And a lot of my author friends that I've made over the years from being in the industry write in that genre. So
Mm.
I had some really good brainstorming to pick
Yeah.
and resources. They helped me
Yeah.
get launched really with that name. So it made financial sense, and it made sense for me as someone who enjoyed reading it.
That's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, I remember watching Murder, She Wrote when I was a teenager. Did you love that show? Was that one of your inspirations, maybe? Yeah. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
great.
Yeah, really good. I mean, and
That's very cozy.
Yeah. I haven't read a lot of cozy mystery since. I would have no idea what I was doing with cozy mystery, but I do enjoy them. I loved Murder, She Wrote. Yeah, it's fantastic. So you've got, is it 4 or 5 books in this series you've got out now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's this series. It's the so it's a
fantastic.
It's what we call paranormal cozies.
Oh, even better.
The only reason I actually broke into paranormal cozies was because that's the one that a lot of my friends write, and it was very helpful to have that link. But actually, what I really want to write is historical cozies. So I'm just going to mix match a bit.
Yeah, I mean, why not? You are your own boss, so why not? Yeah, absolutely. And I think, once I find a reader that I like, then I devour everything they read. And as long as they're not too far out of the genre, as long as it's all cozy mystery, then I'm fine with that, and I think most readers are as well. So that's exciting. Is that what you're working on at the moment?
It is. So I've got 4 books into that first series, and there will be a 5th and a box set.
Brilliant.
But then after that, I will be starting a new series, which I've already started writing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that will take a slightly different direction.
Yeah. So you sound
hopefully
you sound incredibly productive. How long does it take you to write a first draft normally?
About 6 weeks.
6 weeks. That's good. And do you plot or do you pants?
It depends on the genre.
Is it?
For romance, romance, I totally pants because I think it needs that almost kind of things happen as they happen element in a romance. And so sometimes your brain surprises you and you just kind of go, oh, that came together beautifully. Or, oh, obviously they're going to have a row now.
Yeah.
And so for romance, I don't plot at all. Obviously, the ending anyway.
Yeah.
They're going to get together. Otherwise, it's not romance.
Yeah.
But with mysteries, you have to plot, like rigorously plot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll punt it and then I'll have to go back in and drop in the red herrings and stuff.
Absolutely.
That lead to what I've changed. But yeah, heavy plotting for that.
But when you do that with your red herrings and things like that, I mean, there are a couple of my books have mystery elements in them, and I have read crime and mystery and been so amazed about how an author can plot a mystery book. I mean, do you ever feel like, oh, maybe that's too obvious, or maybe it's not enough of a clue, or I mean, do you ever doubt that?
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, with my first book, what I found really interesting is that my British reviews all say the murderer was really obvious. I really enjoyed it, but murderer was really obvious. And all the American reviews say, gosh, the twist at the end, and I never saw it coming.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny?
Is it because I'm British that I'm like, drop the hint are easier to pick up to other English people? Or is it that, I don't know, I'm not going to say American people are dumber because they're blatantly not. But it does seem like, I don't know why. So you spend your whole time questioning yourself. Is it too much? Is it too little? Are they going to get it? Yes, sometimes. Is it going to be completely random out of thin air and they're going to be like, huh?
Yeah.
Because you don't want that.
No. And I've read a couple of books like that. I don't know if you've read The Silent Patient. I can't remember who it's by.
I've read it.
Yeah, I won't tell you then, because I felt a bit like that with that book. I kind of thought, really? Okay. There didn't feel like there was enough clues to suggest what happened, but I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, because I did actually listen to it when I'm doing an Audible. Sometimes details kind of fly away. So, and I just listened to the Thursday Murder Club, which is obviously huge right now. I had no idea what was going on. It was funny, and I love the characters, but I just think it's not a great Audible book because I couldn't follow it on Audible. I missed bits, so I might have to go back and
Yes,
reread that one.
I've put that on my Audible wish list,
Yeah.
and I've put off buying it because the reviews are so awful.
Oh, are they? Oh, I hadn't
Yeah,
noticed. Yeah.
yes, but I read through all the reviews on Audible, and
Mm,
maybe it is just the
I
Audible
think it
edition,
is.
like you
Yeah.
said. But the reviews just all say, I expected so much more of Richard because he's like,
Yeah.
clearly very, very intelligent. Why was this book so dumb? And I,
That's
and I just like,
yeah.
oh,
That's interesting because everyone I know who's read it has really enjoyed it. So I thought it was just me and an Audible thing. And actually, at the end of the Audible edition, there's an interview where he's interviewed by Marion Keyes, and that's really interesting. And it makes you understand the flavour of the book a little bit more. I always love listening to those or reading those interviews. And I think I think it set out to do exactly what he intended, was to have this. I mean, it is almost a cozy mystery because they're in an old people's home. And I mean, obviously there are bits that aren't so cozy, but I think it was very well executed. So I wonder if it was an Audible thing. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
which tells me I probably ought to buy the
Yeah,
paperback to read.
yeah. And it might be one of those books you want to keep, because I think if I'm going to really enjoy a book, then I always want to have the paperback. And I've noticed that's obviously a book talk thing. They love their paperbacks and their hardbacks, don't they? So, yeah,
Well, and I get it. Like, I don't know
yeah,
if you can see here. Here,
yeah,
I've got all the Dresden Files in paperback,
yeah,
all completely untouched and unread, fresh and pristine, because
yeah.
I listened to them all on Audible. And the Audible versions are amazing because it's James Masters who plays Spike in Buffy the
Oh,
Vampire
I
Slayer.
love Buffy. Oh, is it? And I
So
love,
he's the narrator
yeah,
of all of the books, and they are amazing. So I have all of them, but I've just slowly, every month, I buy another one of the paperbacks just because I want to
yeah,
own them
yeah,
because I love the
yeah.
series.
I'm
So,
going to have to listen to them then because I love his voice. And actually, when I hear him speak, it always shocks me that he's not American because I always think, because he did such a good American accent, or he is, that he's not British even, he's American, isn't he? He did such a
that's
good
right. It's from
British accent.
California. I think.
Yeah, he did such a good British accent, and I'm just like, what? And normally you can tell, but I couldn't with that. That really surprised me. So that was awesome.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
saying Dresden is from Chicago, and obviously being British, I'm not very good at picking up the different American
Mm.
accents, but the reviews did say he pulled it off
Right.
perfectly.
Oh, interesting. It's a whole other acting thing, isn't it? This Audible narration. Yeah. Have you done
Absolutely.
any of your books on Audible?
No.
No.
I just don't feel like I'm big enough.
Mm,
I know it would be a really good income stream if I did, but it's very
mm.
expensive to do.
Yeah.
So until I kind of, especially as I've just switched genres and I'm basically starting from scratch with a whole new name,
Yeah.
until I've built up to a certain level,
Yeah.
I think it's worth me
Yeah.
investing.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I
so,
mean, I think there's two schools of thought with that because I agree with what you've said, and it is a huge expense. And obviously, you can do it yourself, but that is a huge learning curve. And it's only 150 quid for the equipment, everything you need, so it's not too bad of investment. Or you can do a split royalty situation, um, but that could be peanuts, obviously, until you've built up that. But that market is a lot less crowded, so there's wiggle room, to get into it before it really explodes. So it just depends. I was looking into it, and yeah, I don't know which way to. I think really the split royalty would be the only way for me to do it because I don't have time to record it myself and learn all that really.
yeah.
I just can't do that. Yeah, yeah. So when did you first start writing?
In 2013.
Yeah.
So I was working in the legal field,
Ah.
and I got made redundant at the same time that I got pregnant with my
Ugh,
first child.
what a nightmare.
And
Mm,
well, a nightmare, but in a way it was a blessing because it means
yeah.
that I had the next 9 months off
Mm,
plus the 3 months before due. So they still had to pay me maternity.
yeah.
So I basically looked at that and went, okay, I've now got a year off being paid. I mean, not off because I
Yeah.
had a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's work too.
Yeah, not the easiest way to write your first novel,
Yeah.
but I'd always wanted to do it, um, and I suddenly had this opportunity where I was going to be paid to be at home. So
Absolutely.
So I really got my head down. And actually, what I did with my first book is I'd written 20-chapter book on the Harry Potter fan fiction site.
Ah.
In Hogwarts, obviously, but next generation Harry Potter. And so I took that book just to learn the ropes, stripped out all the magic, changed it from Hogwarts just to a British boarding school, and published it.
Yeah.
Just because I wanted to learn the process of publishing. Because I thought it was just starting to take off in 2013. It was just kind of what we call the golden era.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So so I put that up, and then in my first month I made $15.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. But then in the second month I made $30.
Yeah.
And then in the third month I made $60.
Going the right way.
Thought, yeah,
fantastic.
I just suddenly thought, right, if I can do more, I could be doubling that.
Yeah.
And I could be making $200 a month with like 3 books. And so these ones, they're very short. They're just novellas. They're about 25,000 words each.
Yeah.
And I was a slower writer then, because you are when you start. You do get quicker with time, because we're talking 8 years now of doing it. But so each one of those took me about 3 months to write, and then so at the end of 9 months after the first one, I had 3 books out, and I was suddenly making $800 a month.
Wow, that's fantastic.
And I just thought, right, if I can keep this momentum going, I never have to find another job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that is basically how I became an indie author.
Yeah.
And I've never gone back to the office, but I haven't always made that much money every month.
No.
Some really bad months and then some really good months.
Yeah.
So
what do you do to market? I mean, how do you think people became aware of your books when you first started publishing them? Did you do some marketing? Did you do some ads? What was your process?
So I was lucky enough when I first started that it was during that kind of gold rush era, where you didn't have to do anything at all.
Yeah.
You just stick them up, and there wasn't any competition really. So people would just download them.
Yeah.
I also set book 1 to free.
Yeah.
That was probably the best and biggest marketing strategy I used. And I still use it. Obviously, I'm in Kindle Unlimited now, so I use it for just the
99
free days.
Or the 99p. Yeah.
So basically what I do is I rotate my various books first in series to be free, and just do a big push on that first book, like Free Booksy, Amazon ads. Robin Reads is a really good one. Book Barbarian, ebook soda. There's a whole massive list of promotional sites that you can use that send out emails to people saying this book is free today if you want to go grab it.
And do they cost, or are some of them free? They do cost.
They all cost.
Yeah.
The free ones aren't any use, to be honest. So I'll still use that as my only real expense marketing technique, to make the first series free, do a massive push on it, and then hope that you get read through to the rest of the series and make that back. And also that a lot of people pick it up in KU, and then we get paid the page reads. So first in series free is the best marketing I found. And obviously back in the beginning I set all of my first in series permanently free. So so and that was really, really helpful, but it doesn't work so well nowadays.
No, I mean, you're clever, and everyone always says, being an Indian author, you've got to have at least one 5-book series out there to really gain traction, and I think you did. You got in at the right time, and you did the smart things. And I've played around, because I have a trilogy. I've played around with free and discounted, and I actually haven't seen it make that much of a difference. So I've put it back. I think it's at $2.99 at the moment, and it's the same. So it's weird. And that's what makes it so hard to know what to do, because what works for someone doesn't work for the next person, and then banging your head against a brick wall. So it's tricky. Yeah.
I've actually always wimped out on Facebook ads. Pretty much every author I know uses them, but I don't tend to use Facebook very much, and the learning curve is just really scary for me. It feels really daunting. So the only thing I do now, apart from those pushes, is Amazon ads.
Yeah.
And I know it's fairly comfortable, but I'm not sure that they're very successful.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I have Amazon ads, but they're not profitable. I mean, they work, but they're not profitable. So when my new book comes out, I'm doing a big push to just, once I've got it all uploaded and ready, I'm going to spend a couple of weeks just looking at all my data, redoing my ads, starting again almost, to see if I can make that better. Because, you hear about all these success stories, and you just think, why not me? Why is it not working for me? Actually, I find...
I know why it's not me. It's because I'm not spending a lot of money on marketing.
Also that, yeah. But I actually find Facebook ads more straightforward than Amazon ads. I do.
Maybe you'll teach me sometime.
Yeah. Well, I went on to Mark Dawson's course. I'm sure you've probably come across him. So he does an advertising for authors, and that's where I put my money. And it's been really useful, because I don't think I would have known what I was looking at without that. I still have yet to make things work. But again, I think I need to go back through the course and do it again and again. It's just one of those things that you just need to keep trying. And with Amazon, you need 2-3 months worth of data before you can actually make a decision on what's working, what's not. It's a slow process, whereas Facebook is very immediate and expensive. So, and then you get put in Facebook jail for silly reasons. So that's a bit silly as well. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is fantastic. What a journey you've been on. So when you first wrote this book and you turned it from Hogwarts into boarding school, did you have any writing tuition before that? How did you know how to write a book?
No. It's the simple answer. Oh God, I think I've probably done a couple of creative writing courses, like my 20s, because I always knew I wanted to be a writer.
Okay.
And I did actually work for the BBC for a few years, and did a couple of they give out like free courses to their employees. So I did a couple of the journalism courses
that's
there.
Fantastic.
In the hope that
I
might one day become a journalist.
Yeah.
But the reality is no training at all. And my degree was completely irrelevant to writing.
Yeah, law.
Yeah. Do you know what? I look back now and I think, God, I thought a 5,000-word dissertation
was a lot.
Climbing a mountain. Now I'm like, I can knock out 5,000 words in a couple of days. No, that's okay.
No problem. Yeah, it puts a whole different perspective on it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think Stephen King had it right when he says, like, your first million words or whatever are not going to be your best.
Yeah.
The more I do it, I look back on some of my old books and I'm like, really? The more you do it, you grow in confidence that your writing is always improving. Just from the process of writing and reading.
And reading is it's, you get these people that say, oh, I'm writing a book, but I don't read. And I'm thinking, well, how will you ever progress or know what story structure is? Or, it's really one of those essential things. You don't have to read a lot, but just read widely, and especially in your genre, just to see how it's done. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because the tropes actually change as well in genre. Like, people think, okay, there's a formula to each genre. Well, there isn't, because the reader's expectations move on.
That's true.
Whatever the big books are at that time, and you kind of keep up and know what they're loving right now.
So, speaking of tropes, what are some of the common cozy mystery tropes then? just in general?
So setting is super important. They're nearly
Okay.
always small town.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I see that.
or
Yeah.
even village.
Yeah.
And then the sleuth in cozies is an amateur
Yeah.
sleuth.
Okay.
So, you know, like a Miss Marple being that nosy old lady,
Yeah.
or
Nancy Drew.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it
Yeah.
tends to be younger for the most part. I think there is a market for older,
Oh,
like more
yes.
midlife sleuths because they have more knowledge. But the
Definitely. Yeah.
standard trope is 20-something woman, and I think that's so you can add in a little romance,
Yeah.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Have been hearing some talk about brosies, which is like men being the amateur sleuth, but it hasn't taken off as yet.
Yeah, because I can see that being a bit Marmite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. I love the idea of going a bit older. I think there's a huge market for that. I mean, you could think about middle-aged housewives with nothing on their hand, you know, enough time on their hands, and then once all the kids have gone to school or something, and then what's that going on down the road, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely.
I think that would work quite well
Yeah.
too. And I think because the audience that read it are older as well,
Mm.
you know, maybe they're a bit fed up of reading about 20
20-year-olds.
somethings
Yeah.
going on their like first dates and all the rest of it. Maybe just
Yeah.
have a husband, like most,
Yeah.
you know, most of that
Yeah.
age group.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are quite standard tropes. Also, the first book nearly always has to be somebody that the main character cares about
Yeah.
is implicated as the murderer, or themselves.
Oh.
So you have to have like a strong hook for why they get into
Okay.
solving
Interesting.
crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a personal motive, and then after that they can just do it because they enjoyed
Yeah.
doing it
And
the
they were
first time.
successful and they've been helpful to the
Yeah.
police or a nuisance, you know, one or
Mm.
the other. That's really
The other thing
interesting.
about
Yeah.
cozies is that the murder is nearly always off screen, so there's no gruesomeness,
Yes.
no blood details and
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
and the victim usually has to be somebody that nobody likes.
Okay.
So
So
so the
that
audience
really
can,
suggests it could be quite obvious who the victim does, not the murderer, right? Victim has to
yeah.
be, yeah. Okay, I get that. I get that.
So the
Yeah.
reader doesn't want to have any sympathy
Yeah.
or care. Like you can't murder a 9-year-old child. That would deeply upset the
Yeah.
readers.
Yeah.
So in a cozy, it's got to be some really
In
irritating
person.
person that
But then
they don't
why would the sleuth care about getting involved if it's a really annoying person?
because their friend or themselves are the chief suspect.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Like it.
So that's how they first get involved. So they've got to have a personal reason for wanting to find the
Yeah,
truth
yeah,
of the murder, not
yeah.
because they cared about the victim,
Got you.
but because they care about,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love it. It's such a you know, contained formula. Wow, I've learned a lot. That's
oh good.
incredible. Yeah, and you can just kind of figure out who your characters are each time, and yeah, fantastic. That's really good. So TikTok. How did you first get onto TikTok or BookTok, I should say?
Um, well, I'm lucky enough to have been one of those people that like found TikTok through my kids and just
Yeah.
loved the format and the formula
Mm.
anyway. So I first started on TikTok in 2018.
Wow.
So
You're a TikTok
yeah,
dinosaur.
so I've had an account like forever because I really enjoyed
Yeah.
TikTok, and I think that's why I'm using it as my main platform really for connecting now, because I think you really need to like what you're doing. And like, as I said earlier, I
Yeah.
don't really like Facebook. And even though I know most of my readers will be of
That's
Facebook
true,
age,
actually. Yeah.
I just, it's not a platform that brings me any
Yeah. Joy.
joy.
Yeah.
I adore TikTok. It's
Mm.
irreverent and it's fun and it doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah.
And nobody gets into massive spats,
Yeah.
particularly on TikTok. And so when when I kind of first started to think about it as a platform to be an author on, and not just me, my kid, or whatever, that's when I kind of started to see it in a different way and set up a new account. So this one only goes back to 2019.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, because it was early, to snag the mystery author name.
Yes. Clever.
Yes. And so from there, I've just started to build very, very slowly, very organically, just build into book talk and talking about books. And suddenly my feed is now 100% books, whereas with my old account, it would be a mishmash of so many.
Yeah.
And also what I did with my last account, I've had 3. My last account had over 15,000 followers. But I did a lot of those kind of like follow parties and things like that. And so when I started again, I was determined to just not do that. I don't want people who are just following me.
Yeah, you want organic,
genuine
growth. Yeah.
So with my current account, it's just under 3,000 now, which is tiny talk. But every single one of those people has followed me because they have liked one of my videos. Like, the content is relevant to them.
Yeah.
And so I 100% rather have like an engaged full following than a massive disinterested following.
I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
I'm really happy with.
That's good. So when you are like, do you plan what you're going to say on Book Talk, or do you just kind of do things by the seat of your pants? You know, how do you think about what you're actually going to say when you're doing your posts?
Well, I try to tailor it to my genre as much as possible. So obviously murder mystery. I don't know if you can see my shirt here.
Oh yeah. That's great.
Obviously, being a murder mystery person, I try to shove in some like darker stuff. So if I'm using other people's sounds, I use quite kind of like everybody should die, and who can I kill today type sounds, and I like those. They amuse me and they come up on my, and so so those are the sounds that I'll use. So as soon as I hear one, I'll save it and then try and do it later. But in terms of my own talking ones, that's very much by the seat of my pants. I just suddenly think something. I think, oh, I'll share that.
Yeah. And I think that's often the best way to go, because it comes across as so much more genuine, which I think Book Talk is all about, isn't it? It's just about seeing into the real person, not this presented front. You know, people want to see the real you. And I think that's something that some of the big authors who've joined, like Colleen Hoover and Victoria Aveyard, have done. Just being genuine themselves. It's really nice to see that glimpse into your life and what you like. I mean, I love it. And I have become, TikTok is like my favorite thing now as well. And I dismissed it for so long because my kids were on it, and all they watched was silly things, just people being silly. And I was like, what is this stupid app, and it wasn't till I don't even know how I got the thought to think there must be a book corner and I went on and looked, and lo and behold, there was. That, but I must say, I find it really hard. I was talking to Jasmine about this in my last interview, to find sounds that I want to use, because all my feed is just bookish stuff. So sometimes you want to see that silly stuff so that you can use the sounds, but I don't ever see it. So I have to go scrolling, and then my feed gets all weird, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to see that.
So my feed is quite weird because I do choose to find those kind of darker. So a lot of the cosplayers have great sounds for me, because a lot of them are dressed up as demons and devils and stuff like that. So I follow a ton of them. So my feed is a really weird mixture of books and cosplay. Also, a lot of Whovians and lesbians. That's great too. I don't know why. But I love what I get on my following.
That's good. I think I'm going to have to go a bit more cray-cray and see what's out there. I did. You know, and even though I'm now
Stuff
following,
related to your genre.
yeah. I mean, I do get, well, actually on my Instagram, I get a lot of mermaids because of my mermaid series and the fact that I have now been mermaiding myself, which was hysterical. So I love to see that. And then I actually genuinely enjoy that. I love, you know, I didn't even know that this was a career, you know, that you could be a professional mermaid. I mean, amazing. So had I known,
My
I love the
kids
water
dragged
as well.
to see a mermaid
Yeah.
reading a book in the park. So
Yeah.
they were utterly, you know, bedazzled by this mermaid
Yeah.
who showed up in the park just to read them a story about
Wow.
mermaids.
Oh, isn't that lovely?
So,
Yeah. See, mine's young adult though, so you know, it's got a tiny bit of spice. This is my, because it moves into new adult this series, but I don't know when I'm getting the rest of it out. So, what is the hardest part of the writing process for you?
discipline. Sitting down and doing it.
Get in your chair, write some words.
Yeah, I'm a massive procrastinator, and TikTok does not help
No.
at all with that.
Yeah.
I will go and hoover the stairs rather than sit and
Yeah.
write. I mean, I know I'm one of those people who's well aware that you don't wait for your muse to show up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a job. You sit down and you
Yeah.
get on with it,
Yeah.
however you're feeling.
Yeah.
But I do have just a plethora of techniques for putting it off.
Yeah. And yet
it,
you still write a first draft in 6 weeks, which is incredibly fast. So, you know, obviously the procrastination that you are doing is working for you. You know, mini breaks. Think mini breaks.
I like to be able to do a book a month.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also like I take a couple of weeks off between each book. Just to
okay, that's yeah.
But so yeah, so I seem fast, I think, to people who are new to the genre. I seem very prolific, very fast. But to the other authors that I know that have been around and doing it for a long time, I'm actually fairly slow.
Yeah.
Considering this is my day job. But obviously there are people who go to work and have kids and are trying to write.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me, it's also my day job. Not that I'm making much money from it at the moment, but I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to work. And obviously, I'm mum when the kids are not at school. But it's, and I'm like you, I can do 4 to 6 weeks for a first draft. But for me, and that I've seen loads of authors who will just churn out book after book after book, and they do their whole series, like 10 books in a year. And I'm just thinking, I actually need rest time because I can't make that book better unless I've rested it, gone to work on something else, come back to it. And that process, if I do that a couple of times, can take me a few months. Do you have a rest process where you do things like that, or do you just charge full steam ahead? And
yeah, no, so I write a book, then I send it off to an editor.
Yeah.
I have an editor who I have employed on an annual contract.
Oh wow.
So she has many other clients too. So her turnaround isn't immediate. She's not just there for me.
Yeah.
And what I used to do, I used to have somebody else, and I would set a deadline with them. So I'd be setting aside a certain period of time of their time.
Sure.
For them to edit my book, and that was very, very helpful, very useful, because I would know that if I hadn't got it to them by that deadline, I would miss my slot and I'd pay for it.
Yeah.
So I was really motivated by those deadlines, but I did change editor. My last editor actually died, so I didn't really have a choice.
No.
I know. Really annoyed with him. So we just worked so brilliantly together. But so I've got somebody else, and she has a different system. So whereby I submit it, and she just will have it back to me in 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
So somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks, I get it back.
Yeah.
So I have this enforced rest period, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
so you don't go and then write something else while you're waiting?
I do. Yes, I do. So I give myself 2 weeks off after a book. and then I will start on the next one.
Yeah.
And then first book will come back from my editor pretty much ready to go.
Okay.
Because she's also a copy editor.
Right.
And that's mainly what she does. So
Yeah.
she will copy edit it, you know, going through, making sure that it's all presented. All the
Do you
lines
ever
are
have
correct.
big structural changes to make once you've got that edit back?
She gives me comments saying this maybe doesn't work and that doesn't work, but no, no. I think because I've just been doing it for so long, I've got the formula down now. So generally my first draft is really close to my final draft.
Right. That's fantastic.
So yeah, so I'll send it to her, she'll send it back, I'll make a few tweaks and then it goes.
Yeah.
By that point I'm in the next one.
Yeah.
So
that's a fantastic process. Yeah. Wow. I tell everyone I write perfect first drafts, but it's not true. I always get hung up on, I use a lot of critique partners, and I have an agent as well, so she reads everything and then gives me edit letters, and we're working on one. I've had 3 rounds of it now. I'm fed up of it. Never want to see that book again, but it will go on. It will go on submission soon. But with my self-published books, I use a lot. I use editors or critique partners or a combination, and I find it really hard. I second guess myself about big changes. I might have an inkling that something's not working, but I'm too afraid to touch it unless someone else says, actually, yeah, it's not working. And I need that validation, I think, before I go and screw it up. Especially when it comes to my characters. I always tell people, are the characters real enough for you? Are they fleshed out enough? That's just one of my things that I don't like reading cardboard characters in books, and I want to make sure that mine are real people. So that's just one of those things I get really nervous about. Huh?
How long have you been writing?
I have been writing for probably 15 years, maybe a bit longer, but only published since 2019. But my first book, you'll laugh at this, was hysterical. It was a adult sci-fi at 45k with no dialogue. Yeah. So I had a lot to learn. So I went away, and I've done lots of courses and lots of things. That's when I realised, actually, I really want to write, but I need to know how to write. And I did a lot of stuff. And I've worked with editors, and I've worked with lots of mentors and lots of people. And the beauty about writing, I think, is you always get better. You always improve. It's one of those careers where you're always learning. And I love that. And I love when I pick up a book that I'm reading and I think, oh, I like how they did that, or I like that turn of phrase. And I jot it down and I add it to my little repertoire of things that I can, use myself. So yeah, I've been writing a long time, and I love it. It's my favourite thing. Yeah.
Because I asked that because I used beta readers and stuff for the first couple of years that I was writing, and they were incredibly helpful. But they also made me question and doubt constantly.
Okay.
And so I stopped using them altogether.
Yeah.
I have no critique partners now, no beta readers, nothing.
I think if you had them now, you probably wouldn't question yourself, because instinctually you know what works and what doesn't. And I think you need at least 4 people's opinion, because if they all say the same thing, then it's something, actually I need to look at that. Whereas if only one comments on something, you can go with what you think. That's always been my rule of thumb. And I've had, my agent has picked up a new, or also a young adult horror author, so she's been through my latest book with a fine-tooth comb, and it was amazing. She's incredible. So I feel really blessed to have had her gone through my whole manuscript, as well as 10 other beta readers. And sometimes, I'll see a comment and I'll just laugh and I think, oh, that's, I know it's not important. Or other times a comment will make me think, and I think, and I'll spend time thinking about it. But at the end of the day, I think you go with your gut. And then if lots of people said the same thing, then address that somehow. So, and I think because I use the same critique partners, I get to know them, and I get to know, how they work with me. And you develop a relationship together. And I've come to really respect their opinions on what they can say. But and this is the thing, everyone has a different process. Yeah. That's the beauty. I mean,
Well,
everyone.
my massive imposter syndrome always kicks in when I finish a book. Every book, when I'm about to publish it, I look at it and go, this is rubbish. Everyone's going to hate this. And I do that every single time.
Yeah.
And it's not until the reviews start coming in and give me that validation that I kind of simmer back down and think, all right, I'm not a terrible writer.
Yeah.
But
I get that. I do.
but yeah, so maybe I would benefit from it again now.
Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting idea that I hadn't considered. Maybe I'm ready to start that again.
Yeah, and because I think you are so well established now, it might work for you rather than actually paying an editor. You probably don't need that editor as much as it might be more of a crutch for you now than you think. And actually, if you've got a good couple of critique partners that you really trust to put you through the ringer, that could be the way to go forward. But you've got to find those people that you trust. Yeah, it's and when you do, it's really worth it. Right, so I've got a few fun questions to end. As a writer, what would you choose as your mascot or spirit animal?
I have a massive picture of a fox on the wall over there.
Aww.
I love them, and hang on, I don't know if I can swing this and show you it.
Oh, isn't he lovely? Yeah.
Next to the dragon. I don't know if you see the dragon. Because I'm a nerd. But I really like foxes. I like how intelligent they are, how they are city and country, and so I guess that would be a choice.
Yeah, no, I like foxes too, though. They are fantastic. If you could only eat one meal and drink one drink for the rest of your life, what would it be?
It would have to be something Italian, so probably some kind of spaghetti with tomato mozzarella salad-y type thing.
Nice. I like how you just got the salad in there as well, with your side dish.
Part of the same meal.
And your starter of your garlic bread.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's got to be on the plate. It's part of the meal.
Yeah.
And it would be white wine and it would be Sancerre.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, I feel like you've been asked this before. You've put thought into this question.
Well, I'm married to a chef, so we talk about food and drink a lot in our house.
Wow, aren't you lucky? Does he do the cooking at home?
When he's here.
Okay.
That's the tricky.
Yeah.
It's long hours, but that does give me more time to write.
Yeah.
I guess. And
take care of the children. Yeah. Can't forget about those.
They dominate our lives, don't they? So I've often said, like, if you really want to be a very successful author, don't have children.
Yeah.
Because all of my friends, the ones who can write a book a month, none of them have kids.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, damn it.
Yeah.
Should have worked that one out earlier.
Well, yeah, I just write when they're at school, and then I dread the summer holidays because they're independent enough now, but I think I'm still not going to get as much done. I get interrupted. So.
Well, the homeschooling just set me back. I literally write for a year because I was just couldn't have that headspace. It's just 100% all of the time. Ugh.
No, my youngest was like, we'd spend all morning doing his, because it wasn't live for him to start with, doing his work, and he's like, right, what are we doing this afternoon? I'm like, well, I'm gonna go do my work now. You got to sort yourself out. Have your iPad. Bad parent.
Yeah. No, I literally had to put it on hold because mine are at the ages where they need me hand holding.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yay, they're back at school.
Yay. Yeah, one of my son's teachers has COVID. Yay. I don't know what's going to happen there, but he's gone off to school today. I mean, she's not in school obviously now, but we all went for a teacher meeting on the Monday that the next day she wasn't in school. So.
Oh no.
Yeah. We'll see where that goes.
Have you tested?
I haven't tested. I will test. I was wearing a mask, and I was only one of the few people that were. So I feel quite smug.
Yeah.
But I still need to test. I need to test him as well. So I'm going to do that this afternoon. Yeah. Right. Good Marvel luck. Or DC?
Well, my favourite character is Catwoman. Closely followed by Batman. So I'm going to have to go
DC. Yeah. Yeah, I like it.
I like Gotham. I like that dark that always wins over
Yeah.
Marvel for me.
Have you watched the Gotham series?
Do you know what? I started it and then I can't remember what came up in life.
Yeah, something. Yeah, I also
lost
started
track of
it
it.
and didn't. One of my kids has watched it all and he loves it, but I think it's one of their better ones actually. And Titans, love Titans. So that was a Netflix series. So good.
I will.
It's kind of like Robin's story. So he's split from Batman, and then he's got this group of superhero misfits that he's in charge of. And their personal dark. It's always dark. DC is always dark, but action as well. So I love Titans. Yeah, I would definitely.
See, I've got all the Nightwing comics, which was when Dick Grayson separated from Bat.
Right.
And he went to another city and started. So I've got all the comics.
Oh, maybe that's what it's based off.
Them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't. I've not been a comic person.
Outing myself as a total nerd.
Yeah. No, do you know what? I wish I was, because every time we watch one of the Marvel or whatever on TV, and it was like, oh, this is the comic about blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I just never did comics. I don't think it ever occurred to me, and I wish I had now, because I could be a comic nerd. I could. I want to know about those really obscure storylines that no one else knows about, and be smug about it. But yeah, that's good. Right, are you Tom and Jerry or Donald Duck?
Neither.
Oh,
I find them both very, very American and silly.
okay.
I've never really liked slapstick, even though that's very British humor. I've never really liked it very much. I like things like West Wing and
yes.
like anything that's slightly political and things that are just really smart.
They are clever.
And the humor is
yeah. We need more West Wing.
That's my humor.
We need
People
something else.
falling over, smacking each other on the head just doesn't do it.
Doesn't do it for you. So if you had to pick any cartoon, what would you pick? Bubble Guppies, Paw Patrol.
Oh, I know, Ben and Holly.
Yes, that was quite sweet. Yeah, I remember those days.
I don't know if you remember Nanny Plum. She always it was a bit like The Simpsons, because there was always little asides in there for the adult.
Oh, absolutely, you have to have that.
It was very hilarious.
Did you know that Nanny Plum is the same voice as Miss Rabbit in Peppa Pig? Yes.
I think the voice is very
distinctive.
Yeah, she's a comedian, isn't she? And married to one of the other comedians.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I liked that. I liked Peppa Pig, actually. That was good. Okay, what three books would you take to a desert island or give to an alien?
Okay. Well, those are two different answers.
They are, correct.
Because I would take the Bible, even though I'm not really religious.
Okay.
Because it's massive.
Yeah.
So that would keep me in stories for a long time.
Yeah. Think of all the retellings you could write.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, as somebody who thinks a lot about these things, it's absolutely fascinating. I mean, one of my paranormal series is on the Grail, so I've done a ton of research about kind of Jerusalem at the time of the and so I do find those things interesting.
Yeah.
So and I love being smart and smug and being able to quote things.
Yes. Have you read it before?
The Bible?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we do actually have to go to church every Sunday because my children are in a church school.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel fairly well versed. But my mother's a Buddhist and my father believes in crystals.
That's incredible. Wow, that's such a mismatch.
I've got a whole
Love
I think religion is very interesting.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I don't really have one.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, you could create a whole new religion with those blends, couldn't you? I think that's very, very interesting. Yeah.
I would probably take something like Jilly Cooper's Riders.
Yeah. I love it.
It's massively big, but it's got some big personalities in it. It's such a fun, frivolous
escapism.
I think I would need that to balance out the Bible.
Yeah.
And I guess for my third, I would take the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Well, it used to be in one book. You're allowed. That's fine.
Just because I think it's the greatest book ever written.
Even that middle one.
Even the middle one, because it's a really important, the soggy middle
Yeah.
as an author
Yeah.
is really, really hard to write.
Yeah.
And, you know, there is an epic battle in that second book.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think his writing just blows me away into a level that I could never emulate or be able to come close to. It's just wonderful, and it's a world escape, and so that would take me away from everything.
Fantastic. Wow,
those aren't books I'd give to an alien, though.
No, and I said when I was asked this question in an interview, I said I would give the Bible to the alien, but then I thought, actually, I'm not sure if that is a good idea. That could give him a false impression of
you.
Yeah. So what would you give to an alien?
I'm not sure if I could come up with three, but I could certainly come up with one. Blot on the Landscape.
Oh, I don't know that.
It's by Tom Sharp. He's like a British, he writes very funny, irreverent books about the British, really, and their warped and weird psychology, but done in the form of fiction.
Okay.
And Blot on the Landscape is a particularly brilliant one because his main character is a foreigner looking in on the eccentricities, foibles,
interesting,
weird kinks of the British people. And so, yes, I would definitely hand that to an alien. So if you want to understand this country,
that's what you need.
It's a really good book about how nuts we are.
I haven't come across that book. That's really interesting. All right, last question. Have you got any talents that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
So I'm not sure I'd want to. I know in a zombie apocalypse I'm first down.
Yeah, I feel that. I saw somebody who wrote that in their Twitter bio, and it made me giggle. And I'm like, yeah, I'm so first down. But I do keep a baseball bat by my bed, so I'm thinking I'm prepared.
Yeah, I'm good at foraging. Being married to a chef, I know what plants I can pick and eat. I can make a great nettle stir fry.
And you would not have picked the poisonous nightshade berries because you would know that they were poisonous. So that's actually a very good talent.
So we could live off the landscape if necessary.
I love it.
With me.
I love it.
But yeah, I don't think I'd be any good in the battle.
Yeah.
So
me neither. I have a slipped disc and a dodgy shoulder, so yeah, battling's out for me. You know,
really weak wrist.
I'm really good at hiding. I can climb a tree and I can hide. I think.
Yes. Well, I play a lot of Fortnite, and my son is always like, "Why are you always camping out in bushes?" Like, that's my strategy.
Yeah,
that's who I am. I hide and I snipe.
See, I'm a Minecraft person. I play Minecraft with the kids, and I actually play it on my own sometimes as well. Don't tell anyone.
Creative.
I do. It's a creative outlet that I really enjoy, actually, and because the kids got me into it, and I love it. It's so much fun, and it's, you know, my mom's always like, "Why don't you play a board game, or why don't you do this together?" And I'm like, "We're playing Minecraft together." I mean, we're lucky that we've all got our own devices so that we can all go into the same world, and that is how we're connecting. That's what we're doing, you know. So, my parents.
I actually love my son playing Minecraft. I just see it as like Lego on the screen.
Yeah.
Because it's really is a very creative, and it's using the mind in the same way.
Yeah.
So
it is.
And actually, all in favour of Minecraft.
When you go into survival, there's so much that's true to life. It's when you think about farming and where your milk comes from and growing crops, and you actually learn an incredible amount that works the same way. So it's quite accurate. So yay, video games. Yay. I say anyway. That's brilliant. So Stella, I could say thank you so much for coming onto my interview programme. It has been a pleasure to get to know you better and learn about your journey and your books. I did not know that you had a pen name and wrote all this amazing paranormal stuff, so I'm definitely going to be checking those out. And can you remind me what your pen name is for these other books?
Stella Wilkinson.
Stella Wilkinson. I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. because
I'm going to start her with a TikTok account of her own, I think, because there's a lot of young adult readers on here. I really want to.
Yeah, well, that's why I came to TikTok, because I thought actually my audience aren't on Twitter and not really Instagram. They're here. So, yeah.
Yeah, my audience aren't here, murder mystery wise.
But we love you all the same, and you're fun. And
I love it. And
yeah.
Can I just say also thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun. And actually, as my first live that I was kind of nervous about, it's been really easy.
Well, so, and I figured with lives, because, you know, I never know, you know, it's a bit weird when people just come in and drop off. And I thought, actually, if you do it as an interview and you do it as a chat with another author, it's really interesting for other people. Then it doesn't feel like it's all about you and you're, you know, talking me. And I just think it's a really relaxed way to be live and get comfortable with it, you know. So
well, you made it really easy by having great questions.
Oh,
so
good. My trusty list, and keep it at my fingertips. So, and I'm so curious about other people's journeys, because we all have different journeys, and I'm fascinated to learn people's processes and how things work, and talking, you know, hopefully that other people watching can actually think, oh, maybe I'll try that, or, you know, give them some advice.
Yeah, so, I'm always picking up helpful tips from other authors all the time.
Yeah,
I think surround yourself with authors as much as possible. If you be one.
Yeah, and I've got to say, when I first started writing, and I wrote kind of in a vacuum for the first 3 years, and I don't think I grew, because I wasn't, how would I? I was writing the same kind of thing. So it wasn't until I actually got onto Twitter and I met other authors, and then I started learning techniques and tips and things like that, that I started really growing as a writer. And you can absorb so much from other people. It's totally really good. Yeah, and we support each other. That's what we're here for. So go indie.
Yeah, well, that's what I love about the book community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's lovely. Good. Right. Well, I'm going to figure out how to stop a live. We'll do that together. And I would love to have you on again when you have another book out, or further down your journey. We can revisit anytime. That would be fabulous. You've been a fantastic guest.
Maybe I can interview you.
Oh, we could do that. We could. Oh, that's scary. We could do
You'll have to send me your questions, though.
Yeah.
I haven't thought of any.
I have a spreadsheet, all of my questions and I've just picked them up from interviews over the years, that things that I like or relevant, you know. I can send those to you, and then I'll be prepared, because I'll know.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you, my love. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Right, I'm going to try and push a button now.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. That was Stella Berry, author of the Cozy Mysteries. You heard how fantastic they were. And also, surprisingly, Stella Wilkinson, who is authors of YA, paranormal, and boarding school romance. They sound absolutely fantastic. So I cannot wait to get more involved with her books. I'm going to go now when I figure out how to do that.